So today I have a few smaller frames here that I just picked up recently at a thrift store, and I want to use them to create some smaller type projects. So I first treat the frames with some black gesso, and then I work with some jelly prints. Here I added two different but complementary ones to the small canvas board, and it will give a really nice yet simple background for one of my frames. To make it a bit more prominent, I will add a couple of little kids' toys to give me some distance between the canvas board and the frame, and that gives me some dimension. I also use my archival ink to blacken up the edges. Like always, I will use E6000 for my glue. I will also use some hot glue now and then. Now today's video will include several smaller projects. There is footage for some, and for others I will chit-chat with you towards the end and explain. But I think the process is all very simple to follow, so like always I will turn you over to some music. Anything you may need to know will be in the captions, and I will be back with you in just a few minutes. Enjoy. So when I started with this video, I had a normal process video in mind, but it just didn't turn out that way. So this will be more of a show and tell, but I hope you will still enjoy it. Now, I could have waited with posting anything until my next bigger project was done, but I know it's been a couple of weeks since my last project. I didn't want you to think that I disappeared again, so I put this together rather quickly, but I hope, as I said, that it will still be of benefit to you. It's been a busy month because I have a gallery show that is running for months, and it just took more time than I had expected. Anyway, back to those substrates I showed you earlier. For one of them, I really didn't have a solution yet. This one, I just painted it black and turned the background around. This will most likely be covered over. I used nails to reattach it, but I love this metal background, and you definitely will see this in one of my upcoming videos. Now, the second one was a smaller box where I used my jelly prints, and here they are, and I added a mechanical fish. Now, I made a video not long ago where I made a few of these fishes, and there you can see all the details, because this one was made very much the same. I started with a piece of a kitty Easter egg. I added all kinds of metallic bits and pieces. There are some gears, there are some beads, there are some springs, some handyman items. Here in the middle are mostly jewelry bits, and I used chains on his tail, and the end pieces are not glued down, so they move a bit. And then I decorated the frame with a handle here and some smaller items, including one of those decorational corners, and it goes right down here. I kept it a bit dimensional. There's a little plier, and it goes right around here to the inside and right along here, and it has keys, it has some music notes, it has a little wrench, there's a ruler, then it goes around here, there's a bird cage, and then it kind of concludes the circle back up to the handle, and this is just a piece of hose with these plastic ends. It was one piece. I have no clue where it came from. I found it in the handyman drawer. So here's this one. It has a nice shiny eye, and even though it's simple, I think it looks very complete. I love the color, so this was fun to work on. I used this amber copper wax on all the details here, and it gives us this nice red warm color, and I'm quite fond of it. So here's this one. Now, for the second one, you saw a bit of footage. You saw how I made the mushrooms and how I worked on some of the details. But at some point, I completely changed my mind on this one. Sorry, I don't have any follow-up footage or photos, so I can just show you the final results. And this is the way it looks now. Yes, I know, quite different. I covered up the paper. I just wasn't happy with the color. I added more details. Here are more mushrooms. There are some leaves, some screws, some gears, some springs all over. A few little details here on the top. And then here on the inside as well, I added more mushrooms. I used some little light bulbs. I used some Christmas bulbs. I also used some bullets. There's some here, there's some on the top. Now, I don't shoot bullets, but I find them on my nature walks in the forest. Now, you saw that I made wings for the violin, and it didn't sit with me. I didn't like it. So I used the violin here just as part of the vegetation, I guess, and I used those wings and cut them in half. Half is up here, half here on the bottom, and I think it fills in really well and looks like leaves, so nothing was wasted. Then I used some little faces. This is taken from a doll. This is from a little figurine. I gave them headdresses. This one has a little wishbone here on the bottom, and that filled in some of the other space. There are some toy pieces and so on. And then, of course, I needed a nice focal point. So after adding the spider web and a tiny toy spider here that I just gave some beads for its feet, I made this one from scratch. It's made from wires and beads. I spray painted it white. It has a little of the copper wax on it, the one I use for the rest of the piece, and it has one artificial leg. I felt like it needed a little something special. So one of the legs I purposely made different. I used gears, I used little nuts and little metal handyman bits to fabricate this, and I think it's a real cool look. And I also added some sand to the background just for a bit more texture. The rest stayed the same except that I covered over all those papers, and that's okay with me. I like this darker look for this type of assemblage better. So here it is in all the details. I let you have a look one more time all around. I think now it looks very complete. It looks saturated, and I'm happy with the results, and I'm quite happy with the way these mushrooms came out. So that was that for number 2. Now the rest are just other things I made a while back, but I thought they fit into this video pretty well. Now this is an assemblage I did years ago. You might remember it. It's here on my channel, and I always liked it and had it in my personal stash. I had used a figurine I found at a thrift store, and that figurine was definitely made by somebody, some artist, and I didn't feel that it was really serving me well in here, especially if I want to make this available to sell. So instead I made this little robot out of bits and pieces, and I think he is just so cool. I really like him. His head moves, so do his arms, and he holds a balloon that reads hope, and it hangs up here. And the rest was pretty much already there. So if you're interested to see how I made this, I will put a link below. So here's this piece. It's pretty simple on the edges, but here it has all kinds of chains. This is a piece from an old-fashioned mirror, and of course lots of jewelry pieces, charms, and so on. I love the bright color and the contrast. So here's this little piece. And then I also worked on a few journals. You might remember my infinite journals, and I will not explain this in details because, again, there's a good instruction video of how to make these right here on my channel, and that link will be below as well in case you want to check it out. So these journals are also made from recycled materials, which fits well with my overall art. I use old book covers and I give them a new look. This one here I covered with a piece from an old painting collage I made. I love the colors, I love the texture, and I actually used some drywall tape right here. And so I used more on the spine and on the back just for a bit more texture and for pulling it all together. Here on the inside, some pretty fabric, some ribbon closure, and then I use papers that I also find at the thrift store. It has an elastic binding, so these can be replaced. So there's book number 1. Number 2, I used one of those paper frames. I used my alcohol inks on it, and I love the color combo. Then I had one of those art prints here for the middle, and the rest of it just got some fabric for a bit of texture and some of my waxes. I treated all 3 of these book covers with black gesso first. Here's again pretty fabric, ribbon, and paper. And then the third one here, again, this was some recycled art I did years ago. I covered a cardboard box with this collage of ephemera bits. I sewed it all up, so the inside sewing was part of the original design, but when I repurposed it, I cut it, of course, to size and re-sewed the edges, so it has a front, a spine, and a back. Again, fabric and paper. So these will eventually either go into my Etsy store, or I am also looking forward to a holiday market. So I prepare smaller bits and pieces I can take for those occasions. So that's it for today. So I know, as I said in the beginning, a little bit of a different type of video, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I see you soon again. Take care.